Hello. What I'd like to talk to you about now is give you a bit of an idea about career readiness, workplace readiness. So, how do you know that you're ready for ready for the workplace, and how do employers know that you're ready for the workplace? So that's the session that I'd like to do with you now. And what I'm going to cover within the session are what it actually means to be workplace ready, because it sounds quite a grand title, and you will find that recruiters will use different terminology. They won't always talk about the workplace, they may talk about other things as well. So you will get an idea about what that means. What sort of expectations employers have. So in what way do they expect a graduate to be workplace ready? What do they expect when you join them? And so, what steps should you be considering, and what steps can you take to ensure that you're workplace ready? So, these are the sort of things that I'm going to cover within this session. So, I hope it'll prove useful and that you'll maybe gain a couple of tips to help you on your journey. Right, so I thought one of the first ways of starting is to perhaps give you a little bit of a quote in a way. So, what does it mean to most recruiters if they say that you're workplace ready? Um, Again, a lot of them have been honest and they have confessed that they often use if you're employable, your employability skills, that can be classed as work readiness. So it is the fact that you need to have relevant skills, knowledge, behaviour, and commercial awareness. And then that makes them feel confident that they're choosing the right graduate, that you're going to go to them with a great qualification that you've acquired, and it's probably giving you lots of specialist skills and knowledge, and that's why they want you. And that on top of that, you're workplace ready. You're bringing them all the extra things that they want as well, that really helps you make a positive contribution to their organisation, and that'll happen soon after you've joined them, that they're not feeling that they're going to have endless training and settling you into the role. There'll always be a bit of that, but they know that they've hired you and you're perfect for the job as you've joined them, that you're already up to par and with lots of the skills and techniques and awareness of what's going to happen and how you can progress in your career. So, one of the things I thought it could be quite useful to do is to actually explore what employers' expectations are. What do they mean by being workplace ready? What I've done, you will see at the end, I'll explain where some of these qualities have come from if you want to do a bit more research and find out more, because I can honestly say I've not created all of this. It's not my own personal work. It's been well researched and it's a good fit. So the first things to consider are, what are the workplace personal qualities and attributes that employers look for? They do like people that have creativity and can show initiative. When they talk about creativity, it doesn't mean that you have to be sort of wonderful with arts and crafts and things like that. They just want to know sometimes that you can think out of the box a bit, that you can come up with a few different things, that you will be able to innovate. You will have ideas of maybe helping to move them forward and to support them. And that we know all of us are a bit like when we start and go anywhere new, we're not always sort of bounding with confidence and enthusiasm at first. We sometimes think, oh, well, I need to settle in a little bit and see when can I suggest any ideas I've got, and do I understand enough to make these ideas worthwhile? So you settle in a bit and then you can show how creative and innovative that you are. Lots of recruiters will want you to be a critical thinker and to have problem-solving abilities. Some of you may even have chosen a role that particularly specialises in that and done extra things in your postgrad course or within your undergrad course to develop those skills. But they are skills and qualities that employers really like. So it is good to think, do I understand what critical thinking is? And do I practice doing that so that I know I've got those skills and abilities? The same with problem solving. It's good to put yourself out there and develop your skills so you can think, I can do these. Recruiters love people that show initiative, that can think, oh, my boss isn't here, but it looks like this is urgent. I'm going to have to take some action on this. I can try and find if there's anybody that can help and support me with this question that's come up or this email that's just popped in that seems to need an immediate reply. But sometimes you might need to use your initiative and at least be able to give something to help to support something, even though you're then checking that you've done exactly the right thing. Recruiters and employers love people that can self-direct, that are able to think, oh, right, I'll plan my work in this way to try and, I know it'll help me to make lists of things. There are things I can store on my computer. I can use all sorts of things to make sure that I get through my work timely and that I'm able to self-direct and look at what I should be concentrating in whilst meeting all the demands of my role. They really value integrity, very much that you're honest, you obey the rules, you're professional. By integrity, they're really looking again that you cover everything that integrity does, that you have a good, strong set of values that you're showing them. They want a strong work ethic, that you'll meet. They will give you times that you need to work, but also you need to be thinking, well, I need to make sure that, I can meet those times, that I'm prepared and that I won't be like, I've got a 9 to 5 job and I will only work those hours, because getting the job done and supporting colleagues and making sure that your work ethic is strong is, again, looking at the bigger picture and thinking what will be expected. And yes, there could be times where I do have to work a little bit harder or a bit longer, but the rewards will come for doing things like that. And I'll have shown that I have got the strong ethic, which will make the job easier. And also it will show that the company's made the right decisions and I could be rewarded with promotion and being given a role that I really want next time. So it is good to think about all of these things that are expected and how they fit with you. Interpersonal skills. Now, sometimes you think, well, have I got these? And I'm sure if you think back to things that you've done within work activities that you've had where you've been gathering experience, and on your courses, if you've ever done any group work within your degree or your master's, there is often conflict resolution where you're thinking, some members of the group don't get on so well, or we can't seem to come up with a conclusion. So, 2 people aren't getting on as well. I need to help with this. And it's even conflict resolution if you're finding that there's issues with customers that you have. So it is like thinking, I want to know what this is, and I want to look at what strategies can I have to make sure that if I can see that co-workers are not happy, I can put things in place to help support that. Maybe think one of them looks a bit stressed, maybe I can offer to help with part of the task they've been given and see if that will help us all to move on. It's always important within a workplace, when you're there and you're with your employers and you're trying to settle in and get sorted, to listen to everything carefully. Listening is a skill in a way. You've got to listen to things very carefully and think, do I need to take notes? Do I need to read up a bit more? Because then you'll find that when it's your turn to speak, you'll have a bigger impact and you won't feel, oh, I spoke too soon and I didn't have the evidence I needed for that. One great thing that I think all recruiters are saying at the moment is there is a big respect for diversity. There is a belief that the more diverse the workforce is, the more they're actually reflecting the world, the people that you're working with. And I think that is important, because the more diverse we are, there are different solutions, different ideas, and different ways of getting things done. And that works to get things done in the best way. Lots of organisations are customer service orientated, because obviously if you're reliant on your clients or your customers, you've got to make sure you're meeting their demands and delivering a wonderful service. So it's good that you've got the skills to sort that out and be part of that. It's very rare that any of us work totally alone. that we're not working as part of a team. So you need to learn what teamwork means and how that you can be a strong team player and supportive of the team, making sure that you get things done, sort of showing that you have got these strong teamwork skills. And I know I'll be talking to the converted with a lot of these where you can think, I know I already do that and I do that really well. And I think that's great. And you just need to make sure that a recruiter knows that's the case. All of the recruiters also look for lots of professional competencies, and lots of you are going to have lots of those because you may have done additional courses, skills, and experiences that have really created these and made them very strong. They do like these big picture thinking because they want to know that just because you've joined a company when it's doing one particular thing, you could find you join an organization and within 6 months, they may have actually enrolled, bought other companies and joined those to the company. There might be new departments. So all the time you're having to think, what is happening and how is it developing and how am I adding to that? They like to know that you're in control of your own career and your life management, that you are thinking about. At the moment, the way people are all having to work at home, lots of organisations have even got students on placements working at home, students on internships working at home. So they want to know about your health and well-being, that you're thinking about anything, and you're even managing to fit being a sociable individual and having a social life along with coping with the hours that you might be working and thinking, if I've got hectic meetings the next day, I must be careful that I look after myself and that I get sleep, and I've got to fit my social activities around that. Everybody wants you to be a continuous learner and adaptable. For example, one of the examples I sort of use with students a lot is IBM. I might see students that have done a placement year with IBM. And one of the things when people are saying, oh, I've had a great placement with you, and I think I'd like to work with you when I graduate, they get them to actually complete a form when they've actually finished the placement. And on that, they have to say what they got out of the year. And they expect them to be really independent learners. They're expected to declare courses that they've done themselves, that they chose, that they were interested in, whilst they were on a placement, doing all of the learning and the work that IBM provided. They needed to be an original thinker and an original and proactive learner as well. So that adaptability and throwing yourself into things is really a value, because to be honest, most of us are going to be lifelong learners, and we're always going to have to be adaptable to cope with what's going on in the world and how adaptable we need to be. It is important that you're efficient and that you're productive and that you can watch what's around you and you get involved with it all, that you check how different teams are doing, if you can support other co-workers all the time. And I think we're all information literate, and that's always something that's changing and developing. So it's just knowing that you know these things exist and how you can be part of them and showcasing what you're especially good at. There are more of them, as I say. You will find some of you will have job specific tools, particularly if you're going to be very technical. Obviously we all need a certain element of numeracy, but you wouldn't need lots of it. It'll depend on the role you're going for. It's just the fact you need to look at what professional competencies do you need, particularly for the roles you want, and make sure that you feel you can shine at those and you're ready to take those confidently into the workplace. All of us have to be careful about information technology, information security, keeping our employers safe. We may have databases that we work with, networking, we might be given computers that we've got to safeguard, all sorts of things. So professionalism is a big wish on that list, because we've always got to be professional in the workplace. That's even down to the things like, what clothes do we need to wear? Are we in an organization where, we don't particularly have to dress up every day? We don't have to be very formal. But there might be some times where we're going to have meetings and we've got to be formal. And that sort of professionalism affects the hours we work, what we wear, the timekeeping that we have. It is important that we're professional in every way. Clearly, we will need reading and writing skills. Employers will support us with the training, but it's good if we can practice things that we think are going to be a key part of a role that we're going to take. So do look at everything that you might need to do and think about how you can develop your skills and training to make it that much more effective and useful. Now, another one that I thought it's quite useful to include that isn't part of the original list that I've shown you is emotional intelligence. Because I think it's one of those things that's quite useful, and it's quite useful to understand. Because emotional intelligence in the workplace is really being able to understand your colleagues. So looking at the people that you work with and thinking about what motivates them and how can you cooperate and support them. And I thought this was quite good. It was a few questions that I saw. And I think this was from Hazel, which is a recruitment agency, and this was part of the Hazel do a lot of international roles. So it could be somebody that you've had things to deal with as well. And they actually came up with some of these questions, and I thought they were good because it does make you think, well, how much do I know about emotional intelligence, and how good am I at spotting these things? So it is about, like, can you spot negative emotions in others? It could be that you've got colleagues that have had bad news. Maybe a member of their family's not so well, or, there's a change in, they've got issues with their children or something else. And it is useful to spot what's going on. If people are unhappy or there are issues, you can be more supportive and understanding about their workload and what's going on if you can spot these things. Also, tapping into positive emotions. It's a bit like if you want to start talking to any of your managers or work colleagues about a promotion or perhaps changes in your job role, it's always best to choose them when they seem to be positive and happy to ask for those things, and you're there giving them the support when things are not so good, and you're more understanding if you feel like, oh, they didn't say that very nicely, they didn't sound very happy, that you can realize obviously they're not feeling so well today, or there's another issue causing this. Also, listen to people very carefully, because people will give away a lot of things if you listen. And sometimes we can all listen to things and think, I can see what's happening here. I need to move on and do my job and be supportive in that way. And I think we all should also think about, we're not just judging emotional intelligence from other people, we need to think about how we feel. If I know that I'm struggling about things, or there's issues and that I need to think, am I reflecting the best way of doing things? Or should I make sure that I'm careful what I say to people if I know that I'm worrying about things and I could be a bit of a negative influence? So it is good to think about, am I asking people to do things, and am I doing it in the right way? Am I sounding positive, or am I bringing my negativity to something? So a little bit of knowledge on emotional intelligence can go a long way. And it certainly helps to have all of these different sort of awareness and skills to help in terms of you thinking, I want a career journey, I want to be promoted. And the way of doing that is to understand how things work, because some of these things would be very important as you move into some of your management roles. Right, so what steps can you take to make you work ready? I quite like the picture with this one, because once we're allowed out there again and we're working in the workplace, we will be able to smile at colleagues, we will be doing lots of networking events, and it is often you will be meeting people. And what's nice is that you think people are having a meeting, they're smiling, they're introducing new people, and that's all of it. These are all steps that make you work ready, that you're using all your skills and your ways of networking, communicating, that make you ready for those steps. Now, some of the other ways that I think you can help with this, lots of you will already know lots about verbal reasoning, numerical reasoning, because lots of employers love making this part of the selection process, and that's quite understandable where you might have a role, a company with quite a few jobs, but there could be thousands applying for these, and obviously they want to look at how can they decide who's suitable. And some of the online tests that I think are very useful in terms of understanding companies and organizations are situational judgment, because usually employers will decide which test organization will provide their situational judgment questions for a test, and they'll try and relate them usually to the type of role that you're going to be applying for. So it does let you be a bit like, oh, okay. So what would I need to do in this role? Let's look at these sample questions that they've given me where they want to look at how I'd want react in certain situations. And I find it very helpful to look at what questions is a company asking and what have they chosen as the key answer. Because usually in lots of these tests, you are actually shown what would be the perfect answer. And sometimes they'll have been ranked and you can see them in order. And also, as well as trying to keep recruiters happy and choosing the best employer for you, using things like situational judgment tests and trying them and practicing them, particularly for your dream employers, can be very helpful, because sometimes when you actually start delving into some of these sort of tasks that they look at, you can sometimes think, I don't think I suit that. I don't think that those set of situations and how they're related and which ones are the right answers actually suit me. So maybe this isn't the ideal employer for me to go for. Because at the end of the day, getting a job role is about making sure it's a match, and it's a match for the two of you. So both the recruiter and you. Situational judgment is one that can be a help, that you can find, well, I need to think, are they a fit for me? You know, you need to be honest in some of these tests rather than going there and thinking, okay, it might be something I can work at and I will improve and I wouldn't feel uncomfortable. This sounds like it's a fit. And others, it might be, well, perhaps having done a bit more research and got more involved, this isn't for me. So it wouldn't be the best sort of workplace fit. Also, I like trying some of the work style personality tests. And I'm sure lots of you have got the opportunity to do these through your career services. One of the test providers that I use, and I know a number of you in your own universities will have access to, is Graduates First, and they actually use work style personality tests. They felt that they wanted to know what workplace suited you, and they didn't want to be too much of a judge of your personality. So that's why they'd sort of done that. But it does make it clear whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, but also what work environments suit you and why. So that can be something that can help you in your terms of judging the things you can do to improve how you appear in some of these things, or would it suit you, or there are other things that you'd be much stronger and more suited to. I think tests are a good way of you helping to develop things that will support you in some of these tasks, because there are a number of tests that are really good at letting you look at things like how your communication skills are developing, what your willingness to learn is like, your motivations, your working preferences, also showing you maybe areas that you need to develop, and what your strengths are, because I wouldn't want anybody to be too modest about their skills, abilities, what they can do and what they're really capable of doing, because you mustn't ever undersell yourself. And what I think is good about lots of these activities are that it does give you the time and space to understand and work on all of these different areas, so that you can be like, yes, I feel I understand a few more things. I'd be confident at interviews explaining why I think I can do all of these things. And these are the things I'm going to carry forward to that workplace. That I've got a bit more confidence, that I've got the skills, um, the experience, um, the professionalism, all of the things that recruiters are looking for, and I've tried them and tested them through the different ways of doing the tests. Now, I did say that I'd give you some of the resources that help to do that. So I did start looking at some of the things online that I quite liked. And I know that people watching this could be from many different universities and courses and everything else. Um, at the moment, lots of companies are actually being very nice and spending a lot of time in producing materials. Like I have looked at BT, because they've done this section that's really good for early careers on getting work ready. And there are multiple webinars that are quite short, but they've got some good top tips, and they're quite entertaining and useful if you feel like I want to know a little bit more that might help some of my skills and making me feel a bit more work ready. So I found that was quite useful. They've also got a little section on skills for tomorrow. So again, if you're thinking, oh, I want something that's free, that's a bit different or interesting, that'll help me adapt to that. And it isn't just showing you how to develop yourself for a career in BT. It is much broader than that. Now, at the beginning of the workshop, I did also show you all of those workplace readiness skills, the different ones that were recommended to you that might be very useful to you. And this is what they came from. So they are actually American, but they've been used by lots and lots of other countries, and they are very useful. And they definitely were the ones that I felt backed. Most of the recruiters that I worked with would have supported those. So that's why I use those. Some of the other resources that I think can help you with developing all the different sort of workplace readiness you might require is LinkedIn Learning. I think it's a great resource, particularly if the costs of LinkedIn Learning are being covered by your university and your university career service, which quite often can be the case. And some of you might be LinkedIn Learning experts, so forgive me if I'm talking to the converted and you're already like, you want to see my LinkedIn profile and all the other things that I've developed through doing those sort of things, because LinkedIn Learning is great for you being able to think, well, let's look at what's there, what's available, what I'm interested in, whether I want to just look at something small and see if I can develop it, or actually want to do some more support. So it's something I would certainly look at. You can certainly look at it for free for a short amount of time, and then unless it's covered by other people, there are charges. So that's your decision. Now, another thing that I know a number of universities use is Ab Integro. And that, why I've done the link to this is because the way universities work, we all don't want to call it Ab Integro. We usually rename it and call it whatever we think suits our university terminology. So it's branded to suit us and to suit what we call it. So in my particular university, we call it the Careers Centre, which is highly original. I'm sure it's not. I'm sure lots of other people have better ones. So the link I've actually given you shows you all of the different universities that do that. And lots of you, I'm sure, have got access to that. There are over 5,000 different resources, and there are some really good resources on it. For example, when I've mentioned some of the tests and the sort of work readiness tests, there's a really good section on that, because I have had to design courses using Ab Integro, and you do find that you can actually look at, there are all sorts of courses on there, like personality style tests that would show you things about your work style and how they could be different with different recruiters. And I certainly learned things doing some of those activities. But also, there is an option to search. So you can sort of think like, I want to know more about emotional intelligence. I feel that my group work needs a bit of a lift. I want to know about, am I delivering the big picture? So whatever you need, you can search for. Now, I have mentioned graduates first, but there are many more test providers and that will provide things like the work style personality, lots of your own universities. If you look at your career service websites and all the different support, you will find they will have paid for a lot of these great resources. Lots of these can help you assess yourself and think, let's look at, is there anything else I need to do to make sure that I'm 100% ready for going into the workplace, and that I'm as employable as I can be, and that I'm confident any areas that I think I'm not so aware of, I'm tackling that and I'm ready. And you should find all of these resources here should help you do that and discover that you really can do well. So I hope this is helpful, and it's been a great opportunity to talk to you, and I hope that you all feel career ready. So thank you very much and good luck with your career.